Good afternoon or good evening, depending on how you're feeling. I think it feels like sunny daytime. Yeah, I'm Yann. This is Corey, and we are Follow Everton eating our words collectively. I have to take one for the team. Admittedly, I was a bit pessimistic as well. But yeah, it's daytime, so we can't swear. But shut the front door. Hey, Corey.
Oh, mate, the shock I felt at seeing the starting 11 has been replaced by a different kind of shock of a smash and grab. Fantastic.
Yeah. Obviously, I've got to be mindful of language, but exactly, Peter Duggan, I bet your dad's pleased. My dad always used to make terrible luck. He'd make bets, and he'd do things like, I think it was 4-1 or 3-1 against Newcastle once when we beat them 4-1 or 5-1, and it was a late goal. And or sometimes he's done like 4-1 and we beat them 4-0, and he's screaming at them and they miss an open goal, and you're like, no, I want the opposition to score, and he always missed out on them. But that's quite right, Mark Foster. We will get to this as well. The subs totally changed the game and the impact, but also a couple of things from some players who've been on the match from the first whistle. Yeah, exactly, Wormy. Shocking. Kevin, yeah, just welcome everyone. Becky, absolutely. What a win. There we go. And exactly, this is a point that we will get to as well, Mr. Toffees. Yep, definitely the referee going over to the monitor there and clearly elucidating or articulating his response to Fulham, which was, I'll just cover it here, Corey, was very close, and looking at replays, the ball hit his knee before it hit his hand.
Yeah, look, there's no surprise. A lot of people were fuming that we. In fact, I think I'm calling you out here because I think you mentioned it. Why were you even looking at it? Wasn't intended.
And I just have to say, there's no favouritism here as well. But before we start doing that match thing, this is exactly what I've got down here in my notes somewhere. The point that I was making was. Oh right. Well, it was. Is the point to wear them down? Is our tactic to save energy for the second half, close them down, harry and harangue, and then turn the screw when we bring on some substitutes that are of the Irabunum quality factor? But yeah, Corey, shocking. You were there through all the pre-match content, so why would you like me to fill me in on the pessimism that was prevalent before the game?
Yeah, so obviously, well, we'll take it back to the preview that we done. Obviously, there was a little bit of positivity there. Obviously, everyone in the comments, we can scrape a draw, a couple of negative ones, but there was a general optimism that we can do something. That starting 11 comes out. You see Noah O'Brien, Michael Keane, you see Ashley Young, Harrison, that whole right-hand side. We've seen Noah Njai, Noah McNeil, Decore in, and I mean, I said myself that I'd gone from thinking that we might be able to get something to 3-0 loss would be a good result. Like, I could see it being a 3-0 result for Fulham.
I don't want to pin it all on you. I don't want you to get the blame and get crucified for it. But there was the general feeling in the group chat when we saw the announcement of the team that it was he's just reserving and saving energy and the players, the strongest squad for the final home game against Southampton next week. That was the overriding sentiment.
That's it. Yeah, pretty much. I don't think people. I mean, there's still some questioning why Moyes has gone with that, but that was the prevailing belief, is that probably it's just players that need resting. McNeil was his first game in 90 minutes, his first full game since he was out injured last week. And Jai's not looked the same, but that really turned it around. I mean, I don't think we were way off the mark in terms of. I thought Harrison was really, really poor. It felt quite sad today watching him trip, stumble, make the wrong decision.
Well, the point, that was it. There were times when we demonstrated a lack of tactical nous and awareness. The finer details, forgive me. If you could imagine the theory of football that takes place, you've got your fitness and the strength. So you do the exercises, you do your laps, you do your running, you go on the treadmill, do your cardio, do the weights, do all these exercises and get your physio and your massages. You can do the physical. You can do the match day planning, which is, corners, penalties, set pieces, tactics, building out from the back, who covers here, your positional responsibilities in different scenarios. Then you can have attacking coaches and defensive coaches, but we don't have a game day. It appears that we don't have the finer details of game day management. The kind of things that that's the bells and whistles, but that really do make the difference, because football's about fine edges. When you have like the ball boys throwing the balls on quickly and the players are attuned to it and they know, okay, or throwing it on so there's 2 balls on the pitch. Now, I know that's a lot to ask for, but there were times, multiple times, when we're playing the ball and Harrison, as you say, is getting pressured. And Everton still, this is what made it difficult in the first half to watch, almost boring, is that we were getting pressured. Like but Harrison would get pressured by a man from behind. The ball would run loose, and Fulham would have a man like Iwobi coming in immediately to collect the ball, and we were just standing vacant, watching them rob possession off us.
Yeah, I think Ashley Young didn't provide any support for Harrison today. Probably his job to sit deep. That's why he's brought in instead of Patterson. But I think every time he got the ball, Harrison, he was either making the wrong decision or just poor. The amount of times he lost the ball or fell over, tried to do a drag back and got picked. Won the ball when the ball came through to him and he just hit it straight down there, throw to the goalkeeper. And it was symptomatic of what was a really, really poor first half from us. It was a tale of 2 halves. But I think Fulham took their foot off the gas late on in the first half, similar to us against Ipswich last week. This time it worked in our favour, and we got a very, very lucky goal from Mikalenko from the long throw. And from there, again, similar, akin, vice versa to Ipswich last week, that's when went in at half time, and we really then seemed to pick up again and really started to go for it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of comments here, by the way, that kind of touch peripherally on what you're saying, that all contribute to why we seem to have stolen a win today a little bit. I mean, John, obviously here, really appreciate all the comments, and he's quite right. He said we need to win 3-1 every time, especially when that 2-goal cushion. It's so surprising though that we won from behind. To have that resilience and mentality that we've often lacked. If we, even if when we're in front and we're a goal or 2 in front and we get that goal was conceded against us, it's almost like our heads go down. But there were so many little factors today. Like Beto did a few things. Decore was making himself available. Maybe he didn't let the speculation bother him. Alcaraz again completely turned around the game whenever he was involved in the play, closing the ball down. I mean, like Irabunan when he came on as well, that slide into the penalty area, and there's essentially a lot like that. There's so many positives to sorry, I'm really quiet. Is this better, guys? Can you hear me better?
It's a little bit better, mate, but you've gone from, we could hear you clearly at first, and you've gone just suddenly you've gone a little bit quieter.
Okie dokie. How is that? Is that better?
That is a million times better, mate.
Okie dokie, excellent.
He's turned it around at half time.
There we go. Yeah, turned it around at half time. Well, what? We're only doing a 16-minute stream. Go out in the garden and enjoy this. And yeah, Young did leave Harrison isolated. This is exactly what you were saying, because he stayed back before and Bramley Moore Blues just come on it. He did leave him Harrison isolated, which then doesn't give Harrison many options, because he constantly thinks, I'm going to have to turn and bomb down the wing, which might have worked when he was at Leeds and he had Sinistera, and was it Sinistera? And offering options and doing that kind of stuff where they panicked the opposition. But we're not doing that because we don't have urgency. And the number of times that throughout the game, we allowed Fulham to attack us, and it was only when the ball got to 30, 35 yards out, even to the fringes of the box, the 18-yard box, we were happy to let them sit back and even stroll. And at times, Fulham did that to us, and it's how we capitalised on the goals on the break, which were great. But but yeah, it's just this is the point though. Keane and Mikalenko, it's almost what we talked about. All right, I've got to just to. I was going to throw that back over to you there, Corey, because you were saying some points to carry on. But we are joined by Basil. Give us a thumbs up, Basil, if you are good to join us, who has been at Craven Cottage. Hey, Basil.
Yes. You're right, up the Toffees. Be careful what I say, because I am still surrounded by both sets of fans walking past. But
can you?
It's an open
spot. With that in mind, what would you like to say? But do you know anything about the drama that seemed to happen at the end, final whistle? That I couldn't figure out what was going on. But
no, I didn't see anything. Apparently,
okay.
Is that what came across on TV?
Well, the Fulham, I think, I don't know. Chris was telling me that there was stuff about players going down the tunnel separately.
Oh no, I think we've probably gone by that point. But no, all the Everton players just Yeah, I mean, the Everton players went in separately. The Fulham had all made an escape. The Everton players lapped up the appreciation of the fans. Pickford was waving his arms, just egging on the Everton fans. Beto came over, gave his shirt away, he was fist pumping, and then they all just went down the tunnel. I mean, it was class, really. The atmosphere amongst the Everton side was top at the end of that
So
game.
is it just because you've got places to stay in London? You won't be going up to Newcastle in a fortnight then?
Well, I don't have a ticket, so no. No.
No. So
Maps is going.
how was the atmosphere? What was the general feel from both the Everton fans and then in the stadium regarding the penalty? Because that was very brave. Unfortunately, the ref's name eludes me. I had it before and it's just gone. But
Aaron
that was
England.
very brave to go. And in my mind, I don't know what you feel about it, Corey, if you watched it or you heard any commentary in Basel. But the ref went over to the monitor after it was sent there. But it seemed to be that VAR was obviously quite rightly needed to check the offside and foul potential and everything for one of those goals. But then they seemed insistent on sending him over only to show him footage that the ball made contact quite close and touched Mikolenko's knee before it touched his hands. And his hand was out in a natural running motion anyway. So I don't know what was the feeling, that it was going to be a penalty or?
See that, Basil, innit?
Can you hear the Vitaly Mikolenko is magic, chanting in the background? Um, Speak of the devil. I didn't. I mean, it was the other end of the pitch, but to me, it just looked very close to his body, and it didn't look deliberate from that end. So, but it was brave from the ref. But the game was done. We were going to win the game, even if we conceded a penalty anyway.
Yeah. Yes. Lovely is getting very excited, quite rightly. Because what was your feeling going into the ground then? What was the general feeling with the fans and the away fans? Because the last 3:00 away kickoff, and it's not the final match, so it's almost like the last time you can enjoy it as a football match without the occasion, even though it is an occasion in and of itself. Kind of what was the feeling though? Were people hopeful, pessimistic, just sort of enjoying the occasion and not the football?
Yeah, it's a strange one because obviously a lot of people who woke up this morning at 6, 7 a.m. and to get the coach down or the train, been drinking, and then they turn up and Everton start really poorly, and it's just flat. But I mean, I think generally, yeah, it was just, as you say, it was probably just a standard sort of procedure. The next game's obviously going to be really different, and then the last game of the season, which we usually don't turn up for. But I mean, we don't have a great record against Fulham anyway, so I think they just came hoping Everton put in a decent performance. But with that lineup, could you really have much optimism about what we're gonna do?
I mean, Corey, what were you thinking? I don't want to jump on the players, and because evidently every single one of them that played out there today played a part in a 3-1 win away from home against Fulham. That although they've been inconsistent, they're at home, and the reality is on paper they're outclassing us. Look at where they are in the league. That they're a sort of a slight step above in terms of performance when you look at the aggregate over the season. So yeah, what was your thinking?
Matt, like I said, the first half was very poor. We benefited from Fulham taking their foot off the gas late on in the first half. The substitutions also made a big impact as well. It's been a fortunate game, but that second half, once we made the changes, you could see a massive shift in the players. I thought Idrissa Gay was pretty anonymous in the first half, but once we got that first goal and we got that bit about us, he was getting about, he was trying everything he could do. James Garner then improved as well, though he made a few wayward passes. In Alcaraz, although I think he was very much involved, I thought he was quite poor at times. He was probably the best of a bad bunch in that first half. But again,
when you say poor, though, I don't think it was a lack of effort or intent. I just think that sometimes the impression that I got from Alcaraz is that he was trying too much around players that seemed to be momentarily inconsistent, because like there were times when, even when we started to turn the screw, we'd press and put Fulham under pressure, but then all of a sudden two of the players would sort of drop out of it, and then we'd give them an avenue to play the ball forward, as if like, well, if you're going to do it, all set off and then prepare to sit back. Don't just give them an avenue to ping the ball forward immediately 30, 40 yards. Like, it seemed...
I mean, Alcaraz had probably the best two opportunities, or created them in the first half. The one where he slid the ball in perfect weight for Harrison to hit on his left foot, he probably should have buried. And the one where he runs in the box and he has like a shot that's low and the keeper saves it. They were probably the best two things we had in that first half. I'm not saying he was excellent, but I felt like he was stuck out wide. And I want to see him in the middle, and that's the difference in the second half when he got put in the middle.
And you could see him, he was kind of forcing his way, like ignoring the instructions to stay out wide, because at one point the corner, I think, covered for him wide because he was making sure he was in the middle. But that is where that goal opportunity for Harrison come from. Alcaraz gets the ball in the centre, gets forward, slides it through, and like you said, I don't know if he's meant to score it, but he should be put on that either side of the keeper, not straight down the throat on a stronger foot. The second one,
I've just got to say, Corey.
Yeah.
No. Carry on with that point. Second one, carry on.
I was going to say, the second one, he wins the ball. Poor play from Fulham, but it's his efforts to put in to win that ball. But again, the strike was very poor, straight to the goalkeeper. So he didn't have a poor game. He just didn't have a great game, but he was the standout because he really puts that. He's putting the effort in. You can see he wants that contract. He wants that permanent move to us. And I'm liking it. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking the fight.
I know, but when you see that kind of stuff, it really puts it into perspective of the tenacity, the quality of tenacity and desire and passion and age and potential and on the book value and growth, an increase in, growth in value that we can actually attract at the club when the players are out there. So for me, this talk of Decore, I mean, we were just talking about it up here before, 120,000 at 30 years old and being in an argument. Now, I've just got to say, by the way, sorry, lovely darts. Yeah, appreciate the comments. I will try and touch on as much as a couple of things, but I can't really deviate too much. Do love it. Don't want to put you in timeout, but Ryan, if Ryan were here, he'd even ban the regulars. Yeah. Sorry. No, but that performance from Alcaraz and even the difference that Irabuna made, and Beto. I mean, for me, you can't fault the guy. Okay, so he's not necessarily perfect, but look at his involvement and how he held up the ball, and look how he knows how to distribute it. And when he has the right support, and when asked to do it, he's had the. Although it's not technically wonderful, it's not a masterpiece, he has done the precise, perfect thing. His clinical finishing, when he's in that sort of final moments, is actually good. And look at what he did today. He maximizes the chance versus opportunity, sort of like Moneyball, but when you're actually playing football. He did the perfect thing. He got to the one space where he's got the angle without forcing contact or allowing the defender to block the ball, and he curls it with the outside of his foot to the far post beyond the keeper, making it bounce in front of the keeper's outstretched hand, and it's a goal. And for me, that, like, okay, so he's not going to do wonderful stuff like what Cristiano Ronaldo or even Romelu Lukaku, but based on that, he's already on the books, and we've got other players and other demands. I just think it's a silly argument to talk about should we keep him or not when he doesn't strike me as the kind of player that's demanding 20 grand a week or more at 30 years old.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's not the finished product still, but there's still things that you can work on in a pre-season if you go into thinking he's going to be my number one striker. I'm not saying that should be the case, but it's certainly something you can work with. And like you said, his hold-up play today for me seemed better. Still not fantastic, but definitely better. He was fighting the battles. He was trying to lay balls off. Didn't come off the best for him, but I think again, working with Decore, they're both doing the same roles. Decore was never there to receive, for him to lay the ball off to. So he tries his best. And the goal that he scored himself, he does well holding the ball up in the corner of the half. cleverly lays it off to Njai, and once Njai lays that ball off, he's on. He makes that run. He's good at running the channels. He's good at running in behind. Keeps himself on side, and the strike was still a decent strike. He's done what he's had to do. Yeah, he's got lucky because Bernd Leno should have done better with it. He probably should have saved it or done more with it at least. But he's done everything that he needs to do. He's been involved in the build-up play, the hold-up, and he's had the nous, the effort to run. And he's got 8 goals for us. He's almost got double figures. Now, look, just get a striker getting just double figures is a low bar, but we haven't had much. The last time a striker got double figures for us, was it?
Was it
under Ancelotti? Yeah.
Well,
so that's a long time, and he's obviously our best striker in that period. So it is something that we could cash in, but I've got a lot of time for Beto, and I can appreciate what he's done. He's had 1 purple patch at the start. He's had a bit of a drought, and he's come back and he's got 2 goals on the bounce. So he's showing that maybe it isn't just 1 purple patch. He's a confident striker.
Joe I don't know whether this is Joey 11 or Joe I 11 or but this Beto purple patch myth is over now. Exactly as you're saying, he can get a goal statistically. What more do you want on paper? Is there what's all this myth of he's a great he justifies his £70 million signing fee by hitting the ground running and scoring a goal in his first 4 matches, and then a player that said that we only paid 20 million for, you go, well, it's a purple patch, isn't it? And he's going to turn out to be shit because they're Everton.
Yeah. And I mean, we were talking in the preview. We were talking about Beto's output, weren't we? And we said that before this game, he was scoring at a rate of 1 every 2 games. He was scoring a goal every 2 games based on the minutes.
5 and 7 or 5 and 8, and
But obviously, he's played a lot of games, but a lot of them have been as a sub, so he's had like 10 minutes here and there. But if you take it per minute, he's having a goal every 180 minutes roughly, so it's 1 every 2 games. Now he's got another one today. So that has also gone up. His goals per minute ratio is much better than Liam Delap, who we're courting, and a lot of people are saying that we want. So I'm not saying, again, he is the answer going forward, but there's a lot to be said for considering this, despite his shortcomings and where he's rough. He's getting goals, and he is a goal scorer. You can see he has got that striker's instinct.
He plays, if he plays 38 games, if he plays every game by some miracle, he probably would get 15 goals, wouldn't you think? It wouldn't be bad.
But based on his ratio at the moment, 15 goals a season isn't, and let's say he's playing 80 minutes, he has a couple of games out injured, rested or whatever, you're probably looking at 15 goals a season. And again, that's happened like only a handful of times in the past 20 years.
Which makes me Can I ask, what's the sentiment? What was the sentiment in the ground, and what was this sort of analysis from? Well, what are your guys' thoughts, and Basil? What are your thoughts on Calvert-Lewin's appearance when we were? The impression I got from the pre-match, even prior to the last game, was that he wasn't going to come on. That it was too late in the season, and that was just the strange scenario. So, what are we seeing him come to fitness in the hopes that Moyes might think, well, he'll get a goal or two and demonstrate to the market that he's back in form, and see whether we can get any offers for him? I don't know. What's the thinking?
It didn't look it today because he only came on at 90 minutes. It was just a substitution to waste time. I think he could have put any one of the 3 strikers on. He probably has made his mind up on Berger now. Jamitti's only young and he wants to see the game out, so he probably just went with the sub that was the most reliable, really. But I think he will play next week. I think Coleman, Calvert-Lewin, I think those sorts. There will be a lot of sentiment given to players. I mean, the lineup today, we already had 6. We had 6 out of contract players today.
Well, speaking of making the most of very little, players going out of contract. Just to cover this point, though, since we were talking tactically before we move on to that, the players. John Jones said he's old enough to remember Catenaccio. That keep the ball, have the players sweeping across the back, create a chance, score 1-0, right? Now, that's the kind of point I was asking, because, the first 5 minutes we were practically anonymous. Then we kind of grew into the game, but the first, but that was when we were on the ball, because off the ball, it was almost as if we've covered that. But then you just wonder, what are the tactics? What's going on? Because there's total football, there's tiki-taka, there's possession play, there's a wing overload, there's all these types of play you can do. What are Everton doing now at the moment? Is it just counter, rush and break, or?
Pretty much, yeah. We play that's where we do our best. I mean, a lot of our chances come from us winning the ball quite high up, and then we attack on the break. So that's very much, and it's very much a Moyes style: physical striker, run the channels, bring everyone else into play, and go from there. That's very much how he is, and that's what we've seen. Although at times we've probably been a bit more defensive than we'd like. Case in point, the start of this game, again, possibly due to the fact that he'd made, was it 4, 5, 6 changes going into the match?
I give you the sense from in the ground what it was like in the first half. It was dry, it was stale. People were tired. There was people falling asleep on my right. There was a guy falling asleep behind me at halftime. People really just didn't want to be there. I mean, if there was 10 minutes in the first half towards the first bit of the first half where there was cheering, there's a new Jordan Pickford chant. I don't know if you've heard that. That was on repeat for 10
We do have a
minutes,
question.
and then...
We have a question from the viewers, Basil. Is Ryan still in Burger King? No, you're with Stevie
no idea.
today.
Stevie, he's gone. He's gone to Putney Bridge to get a train. The trains are messed up here. Where was I? Yeah, so there was not much happening first half. Fulham were pretty good on the ball. They zip it around pretty well, as you'd expect. Marco Silva. Everton didn't look tactically like they knew the game plan, unfortunately. I think that was the census amongst the crowd. Like, what are we actually trying to do in this game? We played it down blind alleys. We'd get crowded out. We'd play long ball, just punted straight ball to Beto, which would get crowded out with 3 centre backs and a midfielder. So the Everton's chance play was rather like either you're playing it round the back and not going anywhere, or playing it into corners and losing it, or just hoofing it nowhere. So it was rather stale and drab. And I think we were sort of lucky to get a goal by half time. And I think to go in, score right before half time is ideal. And then, that sets us on good ground for the second half. And then second half, I don't know if how much you've talked about the improvement. I know you've said with the substitutes, it did improve. I wouldn't say, just trying to keep this on the subject of how we approach the game, but tactically and approach play, I don't feel like it changed first half to second half in terms of philosophy. I just felt like the substitutes gave the rest of the players a lift.
Yeah,
Can I ask you, with that in mind, the play you were talking about before, with having the centre backs and the play around the centre midfield and stuff like that, do you feel that there was a change in James Garner? Because he's faced quite a lot of stick, and people have talked about this. And I don't know whether all his social media stuff is because he had in the past received stick. He seems like potentially he could be one of those players where he doesn't want to pass comment and make it public because he doesn't want to make anything about that. It could be that it's an entire rebrand of the youth and moving forward for Everton. Let's get all your media stuff done, and who knows? It's a lot of these things are entirely out of their control. But how do you feel about his contribution today? Because I thought that he did rather well.
First half, Garner and James Garner, they seem to just vanish. It's like they didn't show for the ball. They didn't want the ball. Nothing. There was no midfield today. Fulham just cut through like butter. Second half was better, and I think, but that's because the spaces were tighter. The players, you got McNeil's a stronger player, more defensively sound. He's like, the players were just better quality players around them, which obviously elevates the midfield. But what I was going on to was like, the goals were not because Everton suddenly started getting good possession play, working opportunities. It was a really good delivery of a set piece. I don't know what Branthwaite said to McNeil, but they had some sort of conversation just before he took it. And a good quality counter-attack. So nothing changed, but we just had to find a way of getting goals and winning the game, which is exactly what they did. And you've got to commend them for that.
Yeah, I was going to say
it was a workman-like performance from then in.
Exactly, because the point I was going to make is somebody, I do apologise, I've missed who it was. Was it John, somebody here, John Jones, or somebody said that in his 50 years of watching football, he's often found that a goal before half time can be deadly. Just like the first team that gets an advantage, a psychological advantage in a penalty shootout, if they then miss one or one gets saved, they often then end up losing. But basically, what I was saying is that Fulham didn't necessarily play badly today. It was a case of robbery. The goals that we took were very well executed, but
Yeah.
When you talk about the quality and value in the squad, there's a couple of things I've got to mention, and they have been mentioned previously, but it's all coming together now under the ownership of Friedkin. A lot of the debts have been consolidated, and all the repayments, so the interest repayments have gone down, and also the credit rating's gone up, and certain things have been wiped off or repaid. So immediately we've got access to about 40 or 50 million more. Annually, based on the finances and how the books are worked out. Then there's, I'm guessing, streamlining from a lack of from a bigger structure of synergy processes, HR, payroll, admin, contracts, software, everything. Right now, then you have the more than doubled match day revenue. So the whole point is, if we can do some astute signings and maybe sign the right players at the value, like Alcaraz. Look, even if he's not the right player that we want, if we get a good value for him from the contract, from the clause, sign him. Right, and he's on the books, then value, and we can get rid of all this dead wood and the wages, the wage bill. So then what we can then do is the freedom that we would have to make some signings. You know, I wouldn't necessarily call it a huge treasure pile, but there's going to be something there to consolidate the squad, but that relies on smart, astute signings, and we can't take gambles.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance to take gambles. I will be gambling on mega money players, but there's a lot of players there, Scandinavia, Portugal, France, that you can get really good value for. So I wouldn't say it's about gambling, because I think that's what we're going to do anyway. The amount of players coming out of contract, players going back, the players that we're losing, that is going to be a big gamble, because we're going to need to fill a lot of positions in this team, and that is essentially going to be a big gamble. We could take the safe route and keep the likes of Keane, the Corey, and things like that. Isn't a smart idea, but we are going to take that gamble. But absolutely everything comes with opportunity cost. Everything comes with some risk. But I'm quite excited for this new era to start.
Well, that's the whole point. It's that what mentality do we want to bring forward into this era? Because, as John says, maybe we've got the benefit of hindsight, but there seemed to me a quality where Fulham wanted to let Iwobi sort of score a goal or get one over on his old team, as if they were just out for a strut in the sunshine, for a stroll along the river a little bit, and they weren't fully busting a gut. Sorry, to get into Europe. I couldn't do it. And when we do that, that I just want to see some drive and direction and plan. So because we got rid of all these players, and at times that Gordon and DCL is not really one that's come up through. So you wonder, who are we going to build the team around going forward? Do we have recognised players from the youth squad of they're promising? When what faith would the players have in themselves and their future at Everton, when every single promising youth player we've had, we've just farmed off or sold or got rid of?
Yeah, I don't think that structure is good enough to provide us a first team worth of players. You might get one or two, and I think Harrison Armstrong could definitely be around the first team, but just looking at it, we've just got to be so careful. It's a great chance moving into a new stadium with all these players out of contract to rewrite the script and story. But at the same time, if we just let everybody walk out the door, how many are we going to be left with?
We only have
a first team.
We had to scrabble to get enough players to sign to complete the 25-man squad, didn't we? Don't send Berger back. We don't have enough players.
No, but the thing is, obviously there's 4 loan spots. We've utilised them 4 loan spots this season. So that's 4 players that you don't have to worry too much about. You just have to be smart.
Low risk.
Just smart in terms of getting them. That's the issue. Is it's not guaranteed we'll be able to get 4 loan players, but there'll be players out there to be able to get flown. But
we are getting some lovely compliments today. Your tactical and knowledge, Corey, and this is the brainiest fan channel by far. A real pleasure, John. Thank you.
That's only because you keep agreeing with him.
But Kevin quite rightly says he can't wait to see who gets binned off. I think, though, for me, the whole point is, Tommy's talking about pace and width injected into a team. As I said in the preview and the previous videos lately, we don't have a wide arsenal of tricks in the bag or things. We don't have players that can do a whole range of different things like we did even a few years ago. We had Sigurdsson can whip a ball in and shoot from distance. That's just one of a few, and we've sort of lacked that party trick, that repertoire. It's not like you can pick up a guitar and play one of 500 songs. No, we've just got our set list, and that's it.
we've lost a lot of the creativity. We've lost the dynamism, and that's why everyone's kind of been drawn towards Ndiaye this season, because he has got that enigmaticness to him. He is silky. He's got a bit of magic. I think that's what Alcaraz has as well. And for too long, we've only been able to have one of them players, two of them players, not a cohesive set of players who are willing to put the graft in, but also can have them magic moments. And that's
just to let you know. For just to let people know before this comment disappears as well, I don't know if you're referring to. I have no idea who you could be referring to with two old guys, but the two guys that you might miss, it could well be Robbie and Wes, and they will be joining back for a special guest appearance on our Recollection of Goodison Memories video soon. Do apologise for John's use of the word old there, but. Yeah, there you go. These guys are in demand, but so are you, Corey. Sorry about that. I just thought I'd mention that.
Is that your way of telling me I'm doing a decor and I'm being let go end of the season?
No.
Not if you don't take a pay cut.
But yeah, that's what I mean. So
the next few games
about
will be exciting for my life.
But do you know what? I'm interested to see how certain things like Decore's contract fiasco, because why does it need to be publicity? And even today there's speculation of, oh, is he worth this, and he's banged in some important goals. Look at statistically, he hasn't. The goals might have been important, but statistically he's no different than any other body that would have been in that situation, in the number of times that he had been, based on the style of play. We're on the break, there's one or two men, it gets passed to you, you either take a shot or pass it off to an open goal if you've drawn the keeper out. How many times do you have to be in those situations before you get 7 goals?
Yeah.
So for me, to see how he resolves these situations immediately is going to show a sign of intent, and also I think we'll start to reveal some of the framework for what Moyes envisions is as his project or his game plan for being a manager at Everton for the time he is, because he said he's not going to be there 11 years. So clearly he's thinking of, if there's an end, if his tenure is finite, he must be thinking of a purpose rather than just putting in every day, because he came with a very clear structure and purpose and intent. He kind of had that at United, but the fans and the whole structure didn't tolerate and allow it. So you have to wonder if he's going to do the same thing again. So who do you guys want to see us get rid of?
I mean, anyone who's due to leave us on loan or on their contract expiring, other than Idrissa Gana Gueye, I would let them all go.
Neil Maupay?
Well, he's got obligation to buy to go to Marseille, so he's leaving regardless.
Are you sure you don't want to cancel the clause and get Everton to pay the penalties so we can sign him back?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'd rather pull my teeth out.
That can be arranged.
I'm okay, thank you, mate.
Everyone, get your donations in to follow Everton for us to do a live fan broadcast of Corey's teeth removal to ensure Neil Maupay will not ever return to Merseyside.
Do you think there's something in the fact that what Corey said in the last couple of days about not taking a pay cut, and I prove my worth and I play every game, and I know where he's coming from, but does that give all the other Everton players out of contract the same kind of, he's been strong for everyone, and Idrissa Gueye can start saying the same thing? Or
no,
do you think it's
they're
just
not
his
all the same
personality?
player, they're not all the same age, and they're not all the same level of shitness.
But if you're Idrissa Gueye now and you saw what he said, would you not be thinking the same thing? Like, I'm still doing this at a good level, whether I'm 35 or not doesn't make a difference. Give me one more year on the same money.
But you hope that the younger players who hear this will have people with some intelligence and wisdom around them who'll say, look, you are not going to get an offer, or even hopeful of getting an offer of 150, 200,000 pounds a week to play in Saudi Arabia or be in demand or all this kind of stuff. This could be the peak of your career trajectory if you don't, because you're not, because also, I mean, Everton might be in a situation, but they were not going to be bent over a barrel by players who have played a part in putting us in this situation.
I don't know if we're that financially astute. I mean, commercially, we seem
I
inept,
think Dan Friedkin and the team that have just bought. I'm sorry, what time is it? Damn it.
Well, we'll give them a go.
Dan Friedkin, who've just bought a football club, will not be going, You know what? Yeah, it don't matter.
Yeah,
Keep paying him £6.5 million a year, lads.
you've got the same cronies are under him. It's going to take time to change the mentality and structure.
No, I mean, everything board of the people that are making the corporate decisions and also the recruitment decisions. That's all being changed. I mean, recruitment team's still not completely in place, which is a worry, but they have completely changed, and I've got a lot more faith in them than I did community businessmen that we had at the running the club under Bill Kenwright's tenure.
Mm.
Right, look. There's a lot of considered thought here, and I think we are very much veering off the Fulham match, guys. I'm just going to try and bring it back. So, Basil, while you are there, clearly, maybe you're waiting for a train, maybe you're waiting for a lift, maybe you're just waiting for the Fulham fans to disperse and hope that you're not going to get accosted. But on your way home. But yeah, there's a lot of messages coming in here. And who would you get? I think this is Rainbringer saying the great things. I've opened it up because I just get carried away by this intelligent discussion. But I mean, more thoughts on the game and the occasion. You know, do you think that away fans, clearly they'll be pleased, but do you think that they'll be a bit as shocked as we seem to be?
I mean, the fans were definitely a bit shocked because with the way we played in that first half, to somehow come out and get 3 goals all of a sudden in like 40 minutes, I don't think anyone would have thought that. But I mean, I just say that the feeling inside the ground today in the second half was really good in the away section. It was like bouncing. Every song you can think of that we had, every player's individual chant was out. I'd say it's probably one of the best away atmospheres I've heard in that second half. And I think part of that is because we were up 3-1 with still 20 minutes to go. You get everyone's bouncing, and then there's 20 minutes of it, not just like when it was at Palace or Ryan was at Forest, where we went right in the last 5 minutes. So it was a real time to kind of sit, enjoy the game, knowing you're 2 goals up.
Yeah. Still like Yann? I thought we lost you there.
Yeah, it's just lovely. And I think to me, it's kind of, I don't know. It's really nice to be vindicated with my wishes that the players and everyone put a shift in for the away fans. Because, I mean, even in the height of summer, Newcastle's up north, it's cold. And the ground, when the away fans are quite exposed when you go all that way up and it's quite steep. And yeah, and also with it being the last game of the season and knowing then that where any home games that they go to from then on will not be at Goodison, I just felt that today was really important for fans like yourself who've gone and fans who travel around to every bloody away match. It's just, and I'm so glad that their support has been rewarded because
they go and they pay a huge amounts of money and travel and huge amounts of time, but they've got to get some rewards from it. Moments like today have got to reward them. And me and Steve, we were just together at the end, and we walked back to here. We're near the station. We both said the same thing at the end of the game. Imagine if Everton won something, you know, not just a game away at Fulham. The actual bounce.
Hang on, wait. Let me cast my mind back. I was 8 years old. Let me cast my mind back. 8 years old. The memories of school, and unfortunately, I lived down south. I'd moved my mum. I hadn't moved as an 8-year-old. I've decided I'm moving house, mum and dad. All right, so I was down south, and surrounded by down south, of course, United and Liverpool fans, and Arsenal and Chelsea, and all that kind of crap. And Everton somehow a 1-0 win. Okay, Spurs we'd dominated them, and then got that FA Cup and it was before I could really understand football, though. So do I have any clear memory of success? Moving on.
There's that answer then.
Oh, it would be amazing. I mean, I wasn't born, unfortunately, when the last trophy came, but yeah, it just would be incredible, the feeling. I hope the tunnel access video gives you an impression of what it was like today. It was superb.
The fans did sound like full voice. Like all I could do was Spirit of the Blues, the Charlie Alcaraz song, Beto.
Yeah.
The Beto one, I think he won a foul or something, or he won a corner or a free kick, and everyone was absolutely screaming his name. So the fans were in great voice. I seen a Fulham fan tweet that Everton fans are the best away fans they've had visit them all season. So there's no surprise. I mean, most places we go to say the same, don't they?
Yeah.
Exactly, though. But this, as Peter and Wormy are talking about, for me, it's the whole thing of a trajectory and a path. And the last time that we clearly had that was, I mean, Marco Silva seemed to have it. Martinez didn't, in a way. Do you know what I mean? But Moyes had a clear mission statement. Do you know what I mean? If you start on a project or a group or an NGO or a charitable thing, or you're just doing an event, you kind of have a drive, a rubric, a mission statement. You go, this is where we are, this is where we want to go, this is what we're doing to get there, and this is how we want to do it, the nature of our operation. And there just seems to be a complete lack of a cohesive mentality regarding that. And I'm sorry, I'm not like a business analysis but it doesn't take a bloody rocket surgeon, and somehow I don't know. Sorry.
No. I mean, it is. It's not simple because everyone's trying to do the same thing, and you're trying to get the upper hand. But we've been so poorly run over the past 10 years or so that it is actually quite simple to massively turn them fortunes around from what they are, or to massively improve. It is simple to do that. We've just not done it. We've made a lot of poor decisions. We've gambled at times in terms of how we're financing the stadium, and it's come back to bite us on the backside. Constantly replacing managers and not having a clear transfer vision or responsibility is the main thing. But again, these are simple things which businessmen, in terms of the freakins, can do at corporate level. They're hiring the right people to hire a recruitment team and things. They're hiring football people to do the football things as opposed to them doing it themselves, using their expertise. And they've already got Roma to learn from. They've had a little bit of I'm not to swear. They've made a couple of mistakes with Roma at times. Got Mourinho in. I think he was the right guy at the time, galvanised everyone, etc. Somewhat like we're doing with Moyes. But they had a bit of a mess start of the season. Obviously, they've learned from that mistake, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And we can only benefit from that. We can benefit from that bit of experience with them managing someone or owning and running someone a bit further up their table, because Roma are vying for Champions League in Serie A. And like I said, we can only benefit from that.
You've again more considered thoughts and reflections and knowledge and wisdom there from Corey. And again, it's the whole point of, what do you want? I mean, as a business investment, he's tied already, making overtures and clear gestures and moves to tie Everton into his business and the business empire. And you have to wonder then. Well, you don't have to wonder it. Res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. That by doing that, there's clear intent. It's just that we haven't seen it yet, and maybe there are questions. You can't just. It's like you don't start a product by choosing a name and working backwards from it. So I suppose maybe it all depends on who's going to come in for sponsorship, because we can't have stake anymore, and who's going to come in for offers on the ground, and which players are going to, because you can throw money and offers at players, but whether they want to come or not is a different thing. So clearly there's going to be some intent here, but as you say, I think it's just wait and see, and we're all full of this excitement now, because we got 3 points against Fulham that we really expected. Okay, they're up and down, but they've made they've won against some difficult teams, and they were at home. And Christ, Adama Traore came on, and that man mountain that seems to do something every time he comes on. I was like, right, we're losing this now, and we didn't.
It's also the first time Fulham have lost 2 home games back to back since over a year apparently.
Oh, over a year.
Yeah, not this season, last season. So kind of gives you an idea. So look, it's a positive result all round. We'll take it, especially after what was.
It's very good though that you say that, because we're very good at having records broken, often against us by players breaking their duck. And was it Harry Wilson or somebody had got more shots in against us than in the first half than any time this season? Yeah, sorry about that.
We've kind of veered a little bit away from the game. Shall we have a little talk about maybe rate the players, rate the team? Yeah,
that sounds like a good. What? We've got a better wrap up because it's heading quickly towards an hour, and we've been waxing lyrical and stroking each other's egos and etc. and receiving praise. But I think there's plenty of us that still want to enjoy the sunshine. It's 6 o'clock on a Saturday, man, and there's more football to come, isn't there?
It's football. It goes on forever and it's live.
Yes, watch it here. So, right, I mean, because the thing is, we understand that a lot of people who listen to it on the radio or watch it on TV or have any sort of coverage like that, you only see what they want to show you, and you don't get a full thing. So, do you mind if I ask Basil is match ratings for the players, having got watching the entire match attentively with his notepad there? Absolutely.
Yeah, what do you want to know? The whole team.
Go for it.
Should I give it and then Corey, you reply on the same player, or
should we do that?
Yeah, you kick us off.
Just so so we'll go back. We'll go from Pickford, and we'll go Pickford 7, solid performance, nothing exceptional. Had a good save from, was it Pereira maybe, where we fingertipped it out to the left. Had a couple of good saves. Yeah, I think it was a solid performance.
Yeah, I agree. 7, maybe even a 7.5. Could have done better for their goal, I think, but it was very close to him. But that fingertip save when Wilson went to lob him, the one earlier on as well when he tipped it to his left. So yeah,
and 44 minutes, that wonderful save that it would have curled into the right hand or his left hand post, and he just got it out.
True.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. You're convincing me. I mean, I need to see that save back. It did look good. Was that a deliberate cross was that a deliberate shot? It looked like a cross that was going to head in the far post.
No, I think it was a deliberate shot.
Yeah,
the intent was there for goal. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, and let's go into defense then. Let's go Ashley Young at right back, and I think again a 7. There was nothing exceptional about him. It was just a solid performance.
Yeah, I think for me, I thought he was quite poor. I think he was very narrow. He didn't get involved. He put a couple of I'm going to swear now, a couple of shithouse tackles in, quite lazy. Actually, I would have said maybe like a 5, maybe even a 4.
I would have said a 5 or a 6 because he was a bit of a liability. And although Harrison isn't great at getting himself involved in interplay with other players and drawing them in anyway, and he seems to be, his repertoire is rather limited. He was further isolated by, an aging, a slow Ashley Young who had to contend with Iwobi, who had the support of Jimenez and then eventually Willian, who basically Ashley Young didn't do what Phil Neville and Tony Hibbert and even Coleman, as he's got older, has done, is to command that area of the pitch, even if the other player is faster or more technically, you use your age and experience and wisdom. And yeah, I'll leave that there. 5 or 6 for me. But because if we wouldn't have had those 2 goals, maybe we wouldn't have, which again, were completely against the run of play. I think we're very lucky to have the win, the points today, and I'm happy about it. But I don't want to tear them apart. But I still think that, it was a bit of a liability. That's it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
it's fair enough. It's fair enough. I just thought he had a decent game. Maybe it's slightly high, but I just thought he was solid.
Mate, no, look, your view and what you see as well. Look, when you're in the stadium, it's a little bit different as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you've got to view it. I'm viewing it away from home under the crowd and the situation that's there, and Fulham coming onto you and the amount of chances and stuff they had, and just trying to view it from that. I mean, I don't know how the cross from that side of the goal. I don't know if he could have got to that, but let's move into Michael Keane, who scored the second goal.
Second goal,
right? Yeah, he scored the header at the back post. And actually thought he had a good game. You're going to surprise me here and say he was bad, but I thought he had a good game. And the crowd were singing Kino, Kino, Kino right at the end. Gave him a good sort of singing at the singing him off the pitch. So I'd give him 7.5.
Yeah, no, I had 8 in mind. I think he had a very good game. He scored the goal. And although me and Ryan were probably very, very harsh on him in the
he didn't get exposed. He didn't.
No, he didn't. The one thing we did say was he does Branthwaite's job where he steps up a bit more, but Branthwaite done his job of stepping up, and he done the Tarky job of just sitting in that box and headering balls away and clearing them away. And it suited him, and he done really well at doing that. didn't overexert himself. He done a really lovely crossfield ball.
Couple of crossfield balls,
Yeah. And I thought he had a really good game. I think for me, he's my man of the match, especially after the amount of slander we sent his way in the pre-match. So I will apologise. I will apologise. He is, 100%. That's smashed it. So I will apologise, but I will say absolutely fantastic performance, man of the match for me.
I'm sorry, I just need just a moment to praise that.
But quiet.
Yeah.
What, the spelling?
No. No, just to praise the centre. I'm not going to tear someone down. Just, yeah.
Branthwaite?
7.
But yeah, I was going to say 7. He made a couple of mistakes. He wasn't quite as solid, I thought, as Keane, and a couple of weird passes, but it was decent performance. I think Jimenez was a handful. I've not seen him play that well for a while.
Maybe should have seen him do. Should have done the one thing that drops it for me is should have done better on the goal. But Jimenez dropped back out the way quite heavily.
Yeah, he did.
And Mykolenko was the man who should have really picked him up and communicated that to Branthwaite. But
speaking of, do you not think it was a bit? I mean, how Jimenez's goal was that okay? Yes, he was in the right place, but again, there seemed to be a bit of a switching off off the ball. Almost complacency where the ball looped right over Branthwaite. And you know when it used to be when we'd have Yobo or Jagielka and stuff, and they know the ball's going over them, but they're looking and pointing, and they know that their teammate who's right next to them can see that if they've not got that. And Mykolenko was like this running for the ball, and Jimenez had come in behind him. And okay, he might have got a bit bowled over, but you've got to be stronger than that and more aware. And I'm just, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record. We won. It was a great bloody highway robbery. Hence my description on the channel video. But I just get so frustrated with how can you not be aware of there's a football match going on around you? It's like when you get to the tunnel and people go and they have to stop and go, oh, I've got to get my money out. Like, oh my God, there's a tunnel here.
and he's the main number 9 as well. Now his job is to do that, to find that space and not be seen, to kind of dip out of it. So he's done that well. But the main number 9, the only real aerial threat, because the rest of them are all technical players, really. You should be
keeping your eye on as a centre back.
You should be wary of him, but he's done well to do that. I do think Mykolenko probably was more at fault because he should have recognised it, and even if he's not marking him because he's not an aerial player, communicated that to Branthwaite.
Yeah, I don't think he was going to be able to deal with that header, regardless. But I think Jimenez was really clever. He peeled back. He got a run on him. It was very easy. It was almost too easy a goal to score. They seemed to play right through us. Cross was too easy. Hold it up with the back stick and nobody going for the ball. It was a very poor goal, really. But I don't know how much of that you can take away. Mykolenko, I suppose, a little bit there because he could have done a little bit better. But I don't know how to score Mykolenko. He scored, didn't he?
But it was a deflection.
Yeah.
And he could have conceded a penalty, but it wouldn't have been a penalty. But then we'd have still been frustrated if VAR would have given it to him. Yeah, and then sometimes he didn't immediately do the closing down thing, and you'd think he's younger and faster than Young. So why is he letting them just attack that space? As if, what are you defending? Once you get outside the 18-yard box and there's nobody there, and you're talking about the side of the pitch, why are you covering that space? Go and close the man down.
He seemed really worried about Harry Wilson, and to be fair to him, Harry Wilson kept drifting in and beating his man and getting shots off, and I think that's not good when you think about the performance of Mykolenko. And I don't think he really did anything moving forward either. But so it's hard to rate him anything above a 6.5 just because, But
no,
I thought it was deflected. I don't know. I need to sit back.
Yeah. Big deflection. 6.5. I completely agree with you, mate. I think, to be fair, although Harry Wilson had a lot of shots, not many of them really tested Pickford too much. And one where he straight down his throat. And I think that was Mykolenko doing his job. So he had a lot of shots, but they weren't really great shots. Although, referring back to last week, look what happens when you give someone a low XG potential of a shot and they can actually put it away, then you look bad. So, 6.5.
Corey, I've got to ask. You were talking to me very briefly in conversational, possibly holiday going Greek. Can you read what a comment says here? Can you see
No,
it?
I can't read Greek typeface.
No.
No.
So
And
while we do appreciate it,
I
guys.
also don't believe that's Greek.
Oh, do you think it's not Greek?
Yeah, I think it's like
Cyrillic or
potentially Russian or Ukrainian or something like that. But
okay, do
I am not a
apologise.
linguistic.
I just had a quick glance at it. Sorry about that. Hence the confusion. We would much prefer it in the Roman alphabet.
It doesn't look Greek to
Latin
me
alphabet.
either. It could be
It looks
Ukrainian.
Greek to me.
It doesn't look Greek.
Oh God, that's awful. It doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Russian.
So on to the carry on with the
midfield.
players. Sorry. Yeah.
Midfield. Should we do like centre midfield, the two holders?
Yeah.
I mean,
Go on then, James Garner.
James Garner and Idrissa
here we
Gana
go.
Gay. I think you have to. For me, you'd have to rate them together
What?
because they did a
They
complimentary
get
job.
the same package deal.
Yeah.
I think both of them like 6.5. I don't think neither. They were both as good as each other. In the first half, I think they were both invisible pretty much. I think Idrissa better on the ball then, and then second half they were better, but again, not massively so. 6.5.
I'd go 6 because they were invisible first half, got dominated through midfield, and they were definitely better in the second half. And James Garner put the long throw in for the first goal. So
there's some very interesting conversation happening in the chats about finances. I do just want to point out though that to guide that and steer it maybe back is that one thing we have to figure out is we can't go out and spend a lot of money because the 3-year window we've just had like some pretty bad years, but if we do that we risk going into a boom and bust cycle where we spend, we can't spend, we spend, we can't spend. So we have to be very careful about that. I'll just say that. So when you're thinking about get rid of this player, be ruthless, they're not good enough and they're old and we just go out and buy a new one. They did get exposed, but then again I think that's to be expected when the whole tactic is we sit back and let the other team attack us.
And the Fulham formation probably with the 3 midfielders and getting tighter to each other in the interplay rather than Decore's higher up.
All five of them as well are quite fluid and they're all good on the ball, but they've all got a good bit of they're all quite energetic and good runners. So I'm not surprised they were able to break through us quite easily. But yeah, I mean, you've still got to judge them on that merit, haven't you? And it was a fairly average game, nothing great.
Yeah.
And then segue in there, Abdoulaye Doucouré, central midfield, central attacking midfield. What we saying?
Don't think he played that well, to be honest. But
yeah,
was he worse than Garner or Gay?
His
I don't know if he was.
Backfired a little bit today.
But he got an assist.
I'd give him a 6 as well. I don't think he was any worse than those two, but there was a lot of times where it was frustrating. Like he was getting things weren't rubbing for him today. He was closing down, he was working hard, but he wasn't winning the ball back. And when he did get the ball, he'd go backwards or he'd play a pass that better, would play it back, and he wasn't receiving it, or it just didn't quite click for him today. And I think that's why he came off quite early. He'd usually stay on the whole game.
Yeah,
purely based on his contract talk and interviewee stuff and or things about that, I'm going to give him a 0.
The crowd, people in the crowd were saying, "What, 120k for that?"
Yeah, no, I thought we had a poor game. I thought we had like a 4.5 or something like that. Maybe give him a 5.
60 grand, 60 grand, half your wages. 60 grand all day. 60 grand for a lifetime. And you want that in one fucking day. You cheeky little...
Well done, lad. Well done, Louis Walsh, lad. So then moving on. Jack Harrison on the right.
Jack Harrison. Yeah, he didn't really do anything. Didn't really get in the game. He has nice touches. The problem is that he gets the ball out wide and he's completely isolated. So he's going up 2v1 and he's just not got the trickery or pace to go past him. So he did put a couple of crosses in, but beyond that, he was rather ineffective. So I don't know, 5.
Yeah, but I think 4.5. I think he was very, very poor today.
Yeah,
We're being very harsh for a 3-1 win, aren't we?
yeah, we did win the game. I'm trying to give decent scores.
I mean, these are the players that come off before we took the
Yeah,
lead. So
it's true. It's true. It's true.
On the other side, Charlie Alcaraz.
I'm gonna give him an 8. I think I'm gonna give him man of the match because I just thought I thought he was good. I thought he was the cog in that contributed to a lot of the good things that Everton did today, especially when he moved into the middle.
Yeah, definitely. That second half, when he moved into the middle, he was even more effective than he was in the first half. I thought he was quite lacking some product at times. But that second half, I thought he was much better. The assist for the Corey, getting involved. You can see he's much more comfy when he gets involved and he's in the middle. I think 7.5 as well. So yeah, round about the same with you, Basil. Yann?
Yeah. It's difficult to disagree.
Yeah. Beto up front.
So Beto, he tried his best today, didn't he? We've already basically described exactly how he played today. Did his best. Things weren't polished. And he took his goal really well. I mean, the keeper, we probably should have saved it. But I think you've got to give Beto 7.5.
Just to touch on Dukes before we carry on fully to Beto, right? This is true, but also at what point do you go? Do you stop saying thank you? At what point do you stop bending over and you thank you for what a thing? And because ultimately, and I don't want to swear, but that scoring that goal that kept us in football, that's his job.
Yeah.
Well done. If we
didn't deliver on time, then we'd get sacked, wouldn't we? And if we put ourselves in a really bad situation where we didn't put the effort in work, and then the deadline was tomorrow, and you didn't then deliver it at the end, would you not be in trouble?
And Beto, and I will very briefly touch on a couple of things after that. Sorry, let's get back to Beto then, because the talking about Dukes and his thing, it's gonna double back to wages and money and everything again in it. Sorry, Beto 7.5, did you say?
Yeah, even an 8 possibly. I think he just did probably as much as he probably can do under his skill set and ability and work rate. I think the fact he stayed on for 85 minutes was testament to how of an impact he was having on the game.
He needed that sub when Dom come on for him. He needed it about 5-10 minutes early. He was cream crackered. He was absolutely goosed. So he needed to come off. I think he deserved getting that.
But he chased. But that's because he maintained a high press and he closed down, especially even later in the game when your reserves are gone, and he's still doing that. And look at the reward in the second half. Those kind of goals from his effort and his contribution and that kind of stuff. Okay, I know he came off. Sorry, but
Kevin, I'm aware I've got the autofocus on because the sun's going down from my room. It's messing with the focus. That's why I've suddenly started to go.
They do say it changes when the sun goes down.
Yeah.
Over the river and going out of town. This is terrible. Sorry.
Alex Taylor, right. You're flying through them all today, all the singer-songwriters.
So basically, I mean, I just want to touch on what people are talking about contracts. Now, amortization is the purchase price of the player spread out and split out over the length of the contract duration. And during the length of that contract, you have to pay the player's wages, which is different from amortization. So what that is a book value for the player, which then alters as your player value year on year as their contract length diminishes. Then what you have to factor in is your operational costs and profit and loss on a yearly, revenue and income stream basis of can we afford to pay the player the wages that he's demanding, which you then have to there are other ways to factor it in as this is the total cost of his wages over the length of the contract. Do we necessarily have this money right now? Because then it becomes a financial thing of we don't have to. I'm not an accountant, but I picked it up passively off my dad, and it's just rather frustrating that you had Chelsea. Let's not.
The right, boys, we've only got subs to do now. Okay, so we'll go with the first subs to come on, Illiman and Jai. What do we reckon?
He didn't do that much for me, but I think he just changed with being him on the pitch. Just changes the whole dynamism. Him and McNeil, they both had an impact without doing great amounts of stuff. They worked really hard. McNeil put the cross into the goal and looked a threat.
And that's what them kind of players do. Is I thought McNeil looked a little bit lacking at times. He was making the wrong pass, but
He sometimes made the wrong pass. Yeah,
but his ability from that corner and the fact he was finding more space anyway that Jack Harrison was. Now that could have been a factor if we brought in Jai on at the same time and things like that. But I also agree with you, Illiman and Jai. I don't think he done loads. But when he did come on, he changed the game. The way he held the ball up and slipped the ball through to Alcaraz to create the best goal, I thought was very, very good. And there was a point where he was just shrugging off like 2 or 3 players in the middle of the park, dancing past them just to break through 2-3 players, and then you're on a completely different phase of play then, and you've broke through that kind of.
He played a really good ball. He played a really good ball there. Yeah, out to the right.
That was Beto, didn't it, or something like that?
So yeah.
For me, I'd give McNeil a 6.5 and Jai a 7 or something like that.
I mean, what was the score? Fair. Hang on a second. Right, when because for me, I don't know. There's just one that a player I want to come back to, and you said man of the match. I know we're rating the subs, but for me, it was the end of the first half, right? And I think it was just before the goal, right? 47 minutes, and Fulham were putting us under pressure in injury time. Sorry, added time at the end of
first half.
The first half, right? And Fulham were putting us under pressure, and the ball was pinging around our box. And I thought, if a player gets it here and takes a step and finds a yard, he's going to curl it in. Pickford won't see. It's going in the back of the net. It's going to be 2-0. And I was panicking, right, watching it. And who comes in, slides in from the middle of the box out to the left and passes the ball out, and doesn't it lead to? Yeah, it's what leads to us having the ball up the top of the pitch and Mikalenko scoring. Yeah. And it's Alcaraz sliding in. So that kind of stuff there was just man of the match quality. And when you have players coming on that make that kind of difference, like Irabunum, I know maybe I'm overrating him, but I just think that why do people say, "Oh, he's not good enough"? He's not good enough. He makes a difference whenever he comes on.
Yeah, I think he's not been as good since he come back from his injury. I thought his first few cameos under Moyes, he actually come on and look really, really positive. A couple of games recently where he's not been as effective, but today, I mean, I'd give him a 7.5 just if we're moving on to that. I'd give him a 7 because he come on, he made about 3 or 4 very, very important tackles. He got the ball and he was trying to advance it forward. There was a few times where he was going in, and I thought it was a Drissagana gate at first because of the moves that he was making, the slide tackles. That's not what we've seen for him at the start of the season. We've seen him do well on the ball and progress it, but the way he was running in and nicking the ball, he was doing it as if it was a Drissagana, like the way a Drissagana game was, and I was very impressed with that. So he's showing a bit of maturity that he's gonna you can see that he's learning and he's gonna do that defensive side of things, whereas previously it's been his attacking and his playmaking input that's been most impressive.
Well, yeah. Is it just worth discussing one thing? We've covered everything. I don't think we could talk about Moyes' thing, although I think Amanda Stevens said earlier about I would have been interested to hear Moyes' halftime talk and the bollocking or the rollicking or whatever it's malapropism or something there. Now, for me though, there's just one thing I want to bring up. Maybe it's a bit selfish on my part, but it's a thought I had. If a player gets a red card and they get a batch ban, they're banned from playing because it's their contribution, that the penalty for them and the club, based on his conduct or anything, is that they're adjudged to that the club and they will be penalised, so they can't contribute to the match. So if Marco Silva gets a touchline ban, how is he then allowed to sit in the stands and as the person most attuned, I mean, besides the players on the pitch, most attuned to the philosophy and the intent of what's going on the pitch, getting a wonderful view from the entire match? with an earpiece in, constantly talking on it like that to the in the dugout, who then get to dish out his instructions. How is that in any way a penalty? Yes, he's not down there, but he's still feeding back into the game constantly.
Because if you look at the likes of Mikel Arteta, when he's on the touchline in his box and outside the box most of the time, actually encroaching, but they're there and they're constantly putting them tiny nuggets of information into the players' ear. Do this, you
but that's what I'm saying. But if he's still allowed in any way to do that by sitting in the fan, as he did today, sitting in the stand, and they said he's on his earpiece, constantly talking to the coaching staff in the dugout who are shouting out his instructions. How is that a touchline ban?
I mean, it is because I do think it is. They do suffer
from it.
Like
ban.
I said, yeah, I mean,
didn't say a stadium ban.
Apart from the
yes, but the spirit of but in lower league though, they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to be like. I don't understand. That is still, but the spirit of the law. Okay, we have literalist and intentionalist and legal positivism and all these arguments. The point being, if a player is banned from the pitch, a red card and a ban. Right? They're banned. So we know what that means. If a manager's banned, they don't call it, well, he's not banned from playing. He's banned from being on the touchline, because these rules and all things were done before we had all this stuff. And the spirit is they are not allowed to contribute to the match. So then the whole thing is they shouldn't be allowed to watch or if they're watching in the stands, they shouldn't have the phone and the earpiece or the radio or anything like that. And they should be locked in a back room or banned from the stadium. Sorry.
I mean, look, I get what they're missing out on. Like I said, if you could hear Moyes shouting at Patterson last week, Pato, get across there, get to him. They're not able to put that tiny bit of tweaks and information to the players. So that's what they're missing out on.
Well, you say that. Anyway, look, 3 points. We have gone on for, as somebody said here, we could do a documentary on every match. Even John's going. I get it.
I need to get home.
Rambling more, but honestly, thank you. Thank you for everyone for joining us. Thank you for thank you for Basil for joining us there and delaying your trip home. I mean, Corey, your wisdom. Everyone for your comments on there and the lively discussion about ways to resolve it. I'm pretty sure John Gotti might have some trash management solutions for us or other things, but as it stands, just thank you. Like, subscribe, tell your mates, hit the notifications button and all that kind of stuff. And if you find yourself with loads of spare money over the summer, like we hope Everton will be, I'm sure Ryan would like whatever contributions I'm forced to ask for. Thank you very much. Any last words, Corey and Basil?
Yes. Southampton got their point that they needed to better Derby's point total. So next week, hopefully, they're on the beach. We're not going to have that Everton record that we talked about, where that's who they get that point against. So I'm even more looking forward to next week, as I'm sure anyone who's got a ticket will be as well. So up the Toffees, let's have it. Next week's going to be a big one.
Emotional week. We'll see you. Yeah, we'll see you there.
See you there.
I will see. Yeah, I will be there. Follow Everton will be there. Everyone will be there.
I'll be
let's
home.
just hope Southampton aren't there.
Every man and his dog and everybody will be there, whether they've got a ticket or not.
Roll.